Let's welcome this week's fighters. In the right corner we have a racist, center ring, the bigot, and in the left corner a PDF file, allegedly, who will win out and take home the ultimate prize of disgracing the entire book community, again.
It's gonna be me.
Welcome and buckle in, because this gets messier than a love triangle in a YA fantasy. That is, if the male lead was 29 and the female lead was 3. Because the title holder for disgracing an entire community goes to none other than Lauren Mastrosa.
What devastating knockout. Tell us more about the fight.
Well, I've been training for years for this moment. My competitors were tough. They were, but I'm tougher. And it really showed out there in the ring today. And I would like to dedicate not only my win, but my new book to my very young children. Book Talk is no stranger to drama and controversy, asking is it spice, and more spice under Orwell's 1984, or if it's just trauma with a sprinkle of extra glitter is just an average day in the community. And an Australian author has stood out among the rest, but for all of the wrong reasons. Creating discourse around what is considered dark romance or taboo romance, and whether or not we should be going down the slippery road of censorship. Lauren is a 33-year-old Australian writer whose career recently hit a plot twist she didn't outline, which led her to being charged and arrested for producing child abuse material after releasing her latest book called Daddy's Little Toy. This was definitely a design choice. Were the pink child building blocks your idea, or did the neighborhood diddler have a say it print? Sorry, maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh. They always say not to judge a book by its cover. And getting arrested for writing a book? Well, maybe the internet's being just a little bit too sensitive. Who knows? Maybe Lauren is the next Margaret Atwood, and her writing is just ahead of its time. So to make a definitive decision, why don't we go ahead and read the blurb of this self-proclaimed dark romance or taboo romance novel that is presenting as a children's book. Are you excited? 'Cause I'm excited. Lucy, I can't help myself when I'm around him. I wet my pants in excitement. At night, at night, I use my unicorn Stuffy's horn on myself. All I think about while I'm being naughty is my dad's best friend and how I wish he could be my daddy. Yeah, so if you couldn't tell, this is an age gap romance. And yes, I did say romance, as the feelings are reciprocated. We don't even know how old the character Lucy is yet. All we know is that it's written from the point of view of someone who hasn't graduated from using Pampers yet, who is having naughty thoughts about their father's best friend. I don't even know what to say about that, and I'm not creative enough to create a joke, so we're just gonna move on. I'm the freak of the family. My dad is disappointed in me, my mom dismisses me, and my sister despises me. So maybe, just maybe, and I'm just brainstorming here, but maybe all of this has to do with your nightly rendezvous with the unicorn Stuffy? I don't know. I was just putting it out there. I'm delusional if I think Arthur would ever want to play with me. If you are cringing outside of your exoskeleton right now, I am so sorry, but we are only halfway through the blurb, and the show must go on. Arthur, my juicy Lucy. Ew, don't say that. There's literally nothing worse that he could have said. She's finally 18. I've wanted her longer than I can ever legally admit. You just had to prove me wrong, didn't you, Lauren? I mean, Juicy Lucy? I thought that was bad, but this is definitely worse. I mean, is that why you picked the name Lucy? So you could use it for this weird... I mean, what is this? An innuendo or something? I miss the days when confessing to crimes wasn't cool. But hey, at least based on Lucy's part, all I gotta say is,
hallelujah, she's 18.
And while that confirmation was very much necessary for my sanity, it wasn't enough to save you from charges, evidently. She doesn't know it yet, but she's going to be my perfect little toy, my precious little unicorn, and I'm going to be her daddy. Are you? 'Cause I kind of thought she already had a father. Didn't she? I don't know, maybe for my mental health, my brain is central alt deleting after every word. When I see her playing dress-ups, I forget all about the fact she's my best friend's barely legal daughter. Oh yeah, me too. Whenever I see someone playing dress-ups, I automatically think, wow, that child is ready for a high-paying corporate job. And taxes. When I see her playing dress-ups, I forget all about the fact she's my best friend's barely legal daughter. Or that her mum, just in case you guys forgot, this book is Australian, and in this universe, they enjoy eating out on the baby. Oh shit, on the body. Those words are just so similar and very easy to mix up, which is probably why Arthur... Or that her mum hasn't protected and cherished her like she should. All I know is she's meant to be my baby girl. You can unclench your face and pick your jaw up off the floor now. It's officially over. So as you can see from the summary, there are a couple things that stand out. While the whole summary is cringeworthy, I personally didn't see anything wrong with Lucy's monologue. Wait. Come back. Let me explain. Upon reading this for the first time, it was very obvious there was some daddy-dom little girl stuff going on with a dash of age play, simply based off of the language and the overall tone of this character. To me, as long as the acts are happening between two consenting adults being the key word here, I don't see anything wrong, aside from the use of the word mum.
It's mom, okay?
I'm American, and if you couldn't tell from our president's actions, it's our way or the highway. So if y'all don't want an extra 25% tariff,
Watch it.
so while these books aren't for everyone, there is a market for them. 50 Shades of Grey is popular for a reason, and it's not illegal, nor should it ever be. The problems with this book start with Arthur's part. I mean, Juicy Lucy, straight to jail, bail denied. When he said, she's finally 18, I've wanted her longer than I can ever legally admit. If you didn't see anything wrong with that, I'm not gonna point fingers or anything, but you're a problem. You're a real problem. But if you're like me and wondering just how long before Lucy turned 18 Arthur wanted her in that way, the answer is 3. I wasn't joking earlier in the video when I was making a joke about the male lead being 29 and the female lead not even being potty trained yet. He literally saw her probably minding her own business in her diapers and was like, yeah, absolutely. I cannot wait until she's old enough to be like,
Lucy, I am your father.
and I'm not good at math, but I do know what the law is. And I think 3 years old is a little too early from 18 to be considered even close to being legal or morally ethical, which is why Lauren has been charged and arrested. Those in the community who like age gap, who like dark romance and taboo romance, all came together and were like, yeah, this book's gotta go. It needs to be pulled from the shelf immediately. Many people said that Lauren needed to be in jail, her kids needed to be protected, and anybody who liked and bought this book also needs to be in jail in the cell right next to her, as a bunkmate even. And mind you, these are the communities with romantic family relations, stalking, and murder. Not exactly the community that can go around saying they are holier than thou. Yet she managed to get all of these communities known for their edgy content to band together to notify the authorities. And she dedicated this book to her very young children who, according to sources, are around 5 and 8 years old. So it's safe to say this book is not made for children, even though the cover art says otherwise, which is a valid criticism many people have given to this book on top of the problematic content, and is a criticism that has come up before in the book talk community. When it comes to designing covers of books that house explicit content, many have criticized the use of kid-like elements or cartoons because what if a child picks it up thinking it's for them? Or worse, what if it ends up accidentally in the children's section marketed as safe for children to read? It's happened before. But let's just disregard that for a second and pretend in this universe that's never going to happen. Based on what you guys know about this book, how many of you would be interested in buying a copy? Anyone? Anyone? Come on, don't be shy. Be ashamed. That was a trick question. You can't buy this book. As it has received so much backlash, it has been scrubbed from the internet. Goodreads, Kindle Unlimited, even Google for some people have completely scrubbed any mention of this book ever existing. Which brings us to the topic of censorship, where we have to ask ourselves, is the banning and removal of this content accountability or overreach over a book that is fictional and depicts no real characters or events? Censorship means the suppression or prohibition of any parts of books, films, news, etc. that are considered obscene, politically unacceptable, or a threat to security. The problem? All of this criteria is subjective. Political and societal critiques have been deemed unacceptable and banned in some countries, even landing some authors in jail simply for a difference of opinion. Someone might find cursing, nudity, and violence to be obscene, while others find joy in watching shows with familial romance or reading books where the main character has to sew on his own monstrous third leg he can please the heroine with. Everyone has their own boundaries when it comes to the media we consume. So who gets to be the judge and decide unilaterally for everyone where this line is? And once that line is established and it is decided some kinds of media simply shouldn't exist, does it end there? Or do the lines keep getting reevaluated and moved, eventually consuming everything in its wake? And this has been the issue some have had with this book being taken down. Those who are completely opposed to censorship say that the removal of this content infringes on readers' rights and people's ability to use their own critical thinking. And that is something I can agree with to an extent. Because for me, there are lines. Children being one of them. But we have to remember every country has its own laws, its own code of ethics, and its own moral compass. And when we're judging this book, we have to remember it's Australian, and it's up to the Australian government to dictate whether or not this content is acceptable. People like me, who are in America, cannot judge this from the American lens. We have to look at past precedent for Australia and what their laws and societal expectations are. And based on Australia's past precedent, there is a controversial book that we can look at. It is a book by Vladimir Nabokov called Lolita. It was published in 1955 and is one of the most famous novels to feature PDF. This book was enough for Australian censors to ban its importation into the country for almost 10 years. It wasn't until 1965, due to a loosening on book censorship, that this book was allowed to be finally released. This book follows the main character in first person, mind you, and it depicts his desires. So many argue, if this book is allowed in the country, why not Daddy's Little Toy? And why go as far as to charge and arrest Lauren over fictional characters? And this is just my personal opinion, but I think the answer lies in the context. Lolita portrays the main character as being a corrupt monster and doesn't endorse the content or his desires. And while I've never read it nor plan to read it, many say that Nabokov found the delicate balance between showcasing the realistic nature of the content while also demonizing it, which has allowed its readers to critique and think critically about the content of this novel. However, in Lauren's case, it's just romanticized. I mean, look at the summary. There's no critical thinking required, it's just explicit content. So as to what stance the Australian government is going to take on this book, it's kind of hard to say. And something to note is this book is not actually banned, it was just removed by the author because of the backlash she was getting. The government, as far as I know, hasn't had anything to do with its removal. But the investigation is still ongoing, so whether or not this book meets the criteria to actually officially be banned by the government is something we will just have to wait and see. But amid all the backlash, Lauren, aka Tori Woods, did release a statement on her Instagram, though by the time I went to look for it, I think she had taken all of her social media down, so I couldn't find it. So all I have are the screenshots of the statement. I think there's been a huge misunderstanding. Daddy's Little Toy is definitely not promoting or inciting anything to do with CSA or pedophilia. Then why did you write a romance doing exactly that? The fuck? What is being said is grossly disturbing and breaks my heart, as well as makes me sick. Oh no, you poor thing. There. I mean, why are these so mean? All I did is write a book about my favorite cake, and now all of the comments are accusing me of writing a book about my favorite cake. How could they? It's okay, everyone and their mom's a troll nowadays. Wait, did you just say mom? It's mom. What's wrong with you? Okay, well, F you too. At least I didn't write a book about cake. Daddy's Little Toy is fictional and is meant to represent the daddy dom little girl world. I understand where I went wrong and is why I removed it from Amazon this morning. What happened between these characters, yes, started at a young age. No intercourse happened while she was young. Yes, there were thoughts and I can see how that is frowned upon. Nothing happened like that until she was of age. I know nothing that I say is going to change or fix what I've written. She then went on to say that her editors, her cover designer, and everyone involved in the book had no idea of its contents and shouldn't be blamed because some of them were getting death threats simply for being associated. Her editor also released a statement saying how she told Lauren to change some of the problematic storylines and remove certain parts of the book, but it was evident by its release that she did not take her advice and she never saw the final revision that went out. Which has to make you question the author's mental state and motives, because I think this book would have been completely fine had the child fantasy aspect been completely removed. There are tons of age gap romance books out there, even ones with a daughter and her father's best friend, where there could be some kinky involved. Yet this 3-year-old main character plotline was so important to her that she decided to completely ignore the warnings of multiple professionals, keep everything in, hide her final manuscript, and then just publish it by herself behind everyone else's back. I mean, even in her statement, she didn't apologize for the problematic content that she put out. In fact, to me, it seemed like she doubled down. In her statement, she wrote, "Yes, there were thoughts, and I can see how that is frowned upon." She didn't say a 29-year-old having romantic fantasies about a literal child was wrong, just that she could see how it is frowned upon. Like, I beg your finest fucking pardon? This leads me to believe that she stands by what she wrote. She just didn't think she was going to get the backlash that she did, which is why she decided to ignore the advice from her editor. I truly believe she thought if she classified this book as a dark romance or a taboo romance, people would just brush its content under the rug under the guise of edgy content, because this is what these communities are known for. However, what pisses me off as a dark romance girly is when authors think that there is no line, and there definitely is. Dark romance is just that. It's dark. The characters are morally gray or black in some cases. Like, okay, who cares if he kidnaps you or kills a man who stared at you for a couple seconds too long? God forbid a man has hobbies. And besides, we can fix him, can't we, ladies? But in all honesty, I am fed up with people's sick fantasies being marketed to my community. And I know I'm going to piss off a lot of people in the book community with what I'm about to say, but I don't care, because if you get offended with what I'm about to say, you are part of the problem that I'm talking about, and to me, your opinion does not fucking matter. The dark romance community gets a bad rep, and sometimes rightfully so, because some of the most viral books that make it to those outside of the community are some of the most heinous stories a human could imagine under the guise of romance, which is all the outside world has to represent us. And when they call these books out for being what they are, which is weird and glitter covered abuse, everyone in the community all of a sudden transforms into a keyboard warrior with their literary pitchforks, and that is part of the problem. Someone criticizing a book that you like does not make it a personal attack. People are allowed to have a different opinion than yours. They're allowed not to like a book that you liked or like a character that you fell in love with. It's not that serious. But because some people in the community treat it like it is, we get authors trying to monetize their inside thoughts to us under the guise of dark romance because they think with this tag it will be free from judgment, free from criticism, and that they will automatically get a ride or die community that will defend its sick content just because they decided to exploit a popular name tag for a niche community. But But anyone who is a true dark romance fan can see what authors like Lauren are doing, and we will be there to call you out every time. Just because there are a few people out there that may like the book that you wrote does not make it okay, and you are not welcome here. Because contrary to popular belief, there are lines you're not allowed to cross. And this is one of them. And for those of you who have disagreed with what I've just said, you really need to do some soul searching. Because for once, I thought we could all hold hands with the outside world singing Kumbaya, but then some of you sickos had to go and ruin it. If you thought I was joking about some people enjoying this content, discard your preemptive laugh because the punchline's not coming. You can pause to read the content of this review. There are quotes from the book that I personally don't want to read out loud onto the internet, so you can pause to read it if you would like. It essentially reiterates that Arthur is extremely predatory, and at the very minimum, this book was grooming. And given everything we know, you would think there would be unanimous 1-star reviews across the board on all platforms, but that was simply not the case. Tell me why on Goodreads there were people rating this book 3, 4, and 5 stars. Like, is that not weird considering what the content of this book is? That 4? Even 3, that's crazy. I'm sorry, that's fucking crazy. But 5-star reads as well? Some of y'all need your hard drives looked into for sure. I mean, I really hoped we could all agree that romantic content featuring children is disgusting and should be demonized, even banned. I support the ban, personally. But some of y'all in the community are too far gone, even writing comments like this on someone else's page who was demonizing the book. Yeah, I'm so glad you found your new obsession to cozy up to on a Sunday morning. Get a grip. This is why we can't have nice things. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some things to attend to after the research for this book.